There's a verse in Revelation that has made Christians uncomfortable for centuries. Because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. And here's what's fascinating. Most people who hear that verse don't think it's talking about someone else. They get quiet because somewhere deep down, they wonder if it might be talking about them. So today we're going to explore something that doesn't get talked about enough in church service. Not the psychology of atheism, not the psychology of devout faith, but the strange, complicated, in-between space of the lukewarm Christian. The person who believes, but not enough to be inconvenienced, who prays, but only when things get hard, who calls themselves a Christian on a form, but would never bring it up at a dinner party. And before you roll your eyes or close the tab, stay with me, because this isn't about judgment. It's about understanding why this happens and what's really going on underneath it.
Let's start with something psychologists call identity foreclosure. It's when a person adopts a belief system, a career, a worldview, not because they've truly examined it, but because it was handed to them. Millions of people grew up in Christian homes, went to Sunday school, got baptized at 12, and never once asked themselves if they actually believed any of it. The faith was inherited, not chosen, and inherited faith without a moment of personal reckoning tends to sit in the soul like furniture you didn't pick. It's there, it fills the space, but it was never really yours. This matters because genuine commitment, the kind that costs you something, requires ownership. You can't be fully devoted to something you never fully chose. Then there's the cultural layer, and this one is thick. We live in a world that has made spiritual ambiguity not just acceptable, but fashionable. Phrases like, "I'm spiritual but not religious," or "I believe in something," give people the comfort of faith without the weight of conviction. And for Christians specifically, the cultural pressure runs in two directions at once. The secular world tells you that strong faith is naive, that certainty is arrogance, that committed Christians are judgmental and out of touch. But the church tells you that doubt is dangerous and that anything less than full devotion is failure. Caught between those two messages, a lot of people just go quiet. They find a middle lane that offends no one and costs nothing. That's not peace, that's avoidance. Psychologists who study commitment and identity talk about something called self-concept threat. When fully embracing a belief system would require you to change your behavior, your relationships, or how the world sees you, the mind will often resist, not because you don't believe, but because believing fully would be disruptive, costly, uncomfortable, and the human brain is extraordinarily good at protecting you from discomfort, even spiritual discomfort. So instead of wrestling with the tension, you settle, you keep the label, you lose the life. And then there's fear, not the dramatic movie-style fear, but the quiet, chronic kind. The fear of what full commitment actually looks like. Because if you take the faith seriously, really seriously, it starts to make demands on your time, your money, your priorities, your relationships, your ambitions. Full surrender, which is what the faith actually asks for, is genuinely terrifying to a self-directed modern person who has spent years curating a comfortable life. Lukewarmness, then, is often not laziness. It's a defense mechanism, a way of staying close enough to God to feel okay, but far enough away to stay in control.
There's also something happening generationally that we need to name. Millennials and Gen Z Christians in particular grew up watching high-profile faith leaders fall. They watched churches choose politics over people. They saw the gap between what was preached on Sunday and what happened Monday through Saturday. And when your formative experience of Christianity is marked by hypocrisy, scandal, or spiritual abuse, the rational response is to pull back, to protect yourself, to hold the faith loosely so it can't hurt you if it falls apart again. That kind of lukewarmness isn't apathy. It's a wound wearing a theological disguise. But here's where the spiritual dimension matters in a way that pure psychology can't fully capture. The Christian tradition has always taught that the soul is not neutral territory, that you are always moving either towards something or away from it. Spiritual directors throughout church history have described what they called acedia, a kind of spiritual dryness or listlessness that looks like indifference, but is actually a deeper crisis of the will. It's not that the lukewarm Christian doesn't care. It's that they've stopped believing their choices have any real weight, that God is paying attention, that what they do with their faith actually matters.
And that loss of spiritual gravity, the sense that it doesn't really matter whether you're in or out, hot or cold, present or absent, might be the most dangerous place of all because it's comfortable. It doesn't feel like a crisis. It just feels like Tuesday. What's worth examining is the gap between who you say you are and how you actually live, not out of guilt, but out of honesty, because the research on psychological well-being actually aligns with what theologians have said for centuries. People who live with deep incongruence between their stated values and their actual behavior tend to carry a low-grade anxiety they can't quite name. They feel vaguely hollow, vaguely restless, like something important is just slightly out of reach. The lukewarm Christian often knows exactly what that feeling is. They just haven't decided yet whether the cost of doing something about it is worth it.
And that decision, that quiet, private, ongoing decision, is where faith actually lives. Not in the label, not in the attendance record, but in what you do when no one is watching, when it costs you something real, and when you have to choose between the comfortable middle and the terrifying, demanding, transformative thing that full belief actually asks of you. If this hits something in you, that's worth sitting with. Don't just subscribe and scroll on. Sit with it.